Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. We're on question number 23 of the grade 8 Gauss from the University of Waterloo, specifically from the year 2003. If you don't have a copy of this contest, you're certainly welcome to download a copy by clicking the link in the description and giving these questions a try for yourself. So question number 23, that's the one we're doing now. In her backyard, Gabriella has 12 tomato plants in a row. As she walks along the row, she notices that each plant in the row has one more tomato than the plant before. Okay, so if the first tomato she sees has if the first tomato plant she sees has 3 tomatoes on it, as she continues to walk, the next one will have 4, the one after that will have 5, the one after that will have 6, and so on. If she counts 186 tomatoes in total, how many tomatoes are there on the last plant in the row? Okay. What are we going to do here? So we got sort of a row of tomato plants. These are my tomato plants. And we've got maybe 1 tomato here, or 2 tomatoes, and then this one will have 3 tomatoes, and this one here will have 4 tomatoes, and this one here will have 5 tomatoes. Frankly, these should be green. I don't know what I was thinking. But these are my tomato plants. Okay. So that's the idea. So I have no idea how many any of these plants have. But let's say T, for tomato, is how many number of tomatoes on the first plant in the row. Okay, now the thing I want is the number of tomatoes on the last plant in the row, and I need to keep that in mind. Okay? I'm starting off with T, because then I'm going to say the next plant has T plus 1, and the next plant has T plus 2, and I find addition is a lot easier than subtracting. You could certainly start off by saying let T be the number of tomatoes on the last plant in the row, then the one before that will have T minus 1 tomatoes, and then the one before that will have T minus 2, and so on. And that's a perfectly good way to look at it. When you're done, if you do it that way, the answer you get for T is the answer you're going to bubble in. Okay? When I'm done, I need to remember T isn't the answer. Okay, it'll be T plus some amount for the last plant in the row. And I need to keep that in mind so I don't say, aha, T, it's 22, and bubble in 22 on the answer sheet, when, in fact, T is not representing the quantity I want it to. Okay? Things we need to keep in mind. But, getting back to it, T is going to be the number of tomatoes on the first plant in the row. So, second plant has T plus 1. He's got 1 more tomato. And the third plant has T plus 2 tomatoes. That's how many tomatoes our third plant. That's how many she has. Fourth will have T plus 3. And you can sort of see a pattern. So we go all the way down to the 12th plant, which is the last plant, because remember there are 12 tomato plants here. It will have, okay, so for 2 we added 1, for 3 we added 2, so we should get T plus 11. And I'll remember that T plus 11 is what I want. Okay. So, we know that 186 is the total number of tomatoes on the plants. Well, the total number of tomatoes is just the sum of each of the plants' number of tomatoes. So a fourth plant, fifth plant, sixth plant should have a plus 5. Seventh plant, eighth plant, ninth plant, 10th plant, 11th plant, and finally our 12th plant, which again, t plus 11 number of tomatoes on it. Okay. Well, this is just a single equation in t, so let's clean it up. How many t's do we have? We have 12 t's, one for each plant. And then we have 1 plus 2 plus all the way up to 11. Okay. Now you've got some options here. You can, work it out by hand. 1 plus 2 plus all the way up to 11. That should be 66. You can work it out by calculator. 1 plus 2 plus, or there's a nice way of adding up the first n many numbers. Okay, and I'll talk about that right now. So this is the sum of the first 11 natural numbers. Okay? There's a formula, sum of first n numbers is n times n plus 1 all over 2. Okay? There's a great explanation for this formula. I'm not really going to go into it right now. Okay, I just want to answer the question. It's pretty cool. It's not something that's particularly difficult to find. So if you're looking for more information on that, quick search on the internet will find that for you. Your most basic sort of counting textbook or stuff about information will have a formula like this in it. It's not that bad. It's really quick. There are lots of different ways to prove it. There are nice pictures and everything. Story, if you look up Gauss, who was the mathematician this stuff was named after, he figured out this formula when he was something like 10. So any stories about Gauss out there on the internet, you'll be able to find more information about this formula. Okay, I'm not going to go into it because it's not required to answer the question. It's sort of like a little extra little tidbit that you can learn, because you can do it by hand, or you can do it by calculator, or you can do it by this formula. So I thought I'd just show you the formula. Okay, so we have 186, and we're going to have to move on to the next page here. 186 is 12t plus 11 times 11 plus 1 all over 2, because we're doing the sum of the first 11 numbers. And this will be 66, just as I predicted. 12t plus 11 times 12 all over 2, so the 2 and the 12 will cancel out, and it'll be 11 times 6. It'll be 12t plus 66. Okay, well, let's rearrange. 186 minus 66 is 12t. You don't have to use this formula again. You could have just worked it out by hand. But if you know the formula, that's great. If you didn't know the formula, it's something that you are now aware of and maybe you can play around with. See if you can prove it. We'll have 120 here is 12t. And it's pretty quick to divide that by 12. So t is going to be 10. And I need to stop. Wait, this isn't my final answer. Unfortunately, fortunately for us, 10 isn't one of the possible answers here. So we're not going to get tripped up. Okay? But if that's the answer, so the number of plants, number of tomatoes on last or 12th plant is t plus 11. So that's 10 plus 11, because we just figured out that t, the number of tomatoes on the first plant, is 10. And that will give us 21. Okay, and 21 is D. I think, incidentally, it's kind of odd that D has been our answer for the last little bit. It's the answer to this one, the answer to the last one, answer to this one. It was the answer to question 20. A lot of D's today. I think the answer to 18 was D as well. Not so much further back here, but certainly a lot of D's in a row. Kind of makes me a little suspicious. So I'm actually going to double check my answers here. Okay, so I'm just going to go through. This should be a D, by the way. Should be D. But let's just go through it and make sure, are we doing it properly? Okay. Number of tomatoes is T, so we'll have 10 tomatoes, then 11, then 12, then 13, all the way up to 21 tomatoes. Heck, why don't we just take that and work it out on calculator? So 10 plus 11 plus 12 plus 13 plus 14 plus 15 plus 16 plus 17 plus 18 plus 19 plus 20 plus 21. I do get 186. Okay, so this does seem to work out. We have all 12 plants right here. 12t plus this number is 66. Could have worked it out by hand or used this formula. And we rearranged quite nicely and quickly. And the number of tomatoes on the last plant would therefore be 10 plus 11. That's 21. And that is an answer of D. Let's just double check. We did get 186. That was the right number. We do want number of tomatoes on the last plant, not how many more tomatoes or anything like that. Tomato has one more tomato than the plant before, and 12 tomatoes in a row. Everything seems to check out. So yeah, the answer is D. It's just sort of a freaky coincidence that ever since question 20 we've been having D's. I wonder if the answer to question 24 is going to be 12.5. But we'll find that out in the next video. So hopefully you guys will join me for that. And we're doing question number 24, the second last question on the contest.